Well, Tyler, especially given the range of hearings going on over in the Senate, I thought that this one was the more encouraging one and the more thoughtful one. I think you had Senator Warner and Senator Burr, who really have put a lot of thought into this issue, have serious ideas, and they're trying to figure out what the right thing to do is. What I found most encouraging, I'll say, it's not necessarily good news, but I think they are all focused on the fact that this is a complex and long-run problem. And the question of interference in our political process through online platforms is going to continue. There's not a silver bullet that's going to solve this problem. It's like the hardest cybersecurity problems that we have today. We've gotten used to, unfortunately, the fact that banks are vulnerable to cybersecurity attacks, government agencies are vulnerable, and what we're learning here in the social media environment is that this is a new kind of cybersecurity attack at the information level. The Russians are not breaking into the back end of Twitter or the back end of Facebook. They're coming right in through the front end, and the challenge is to detect them. So I think everyone's focused on the right set of problems, and I found it sobering that I don't think anyone is really saying there's a magic technical fix or a magic regulatory fix. It's something that both these companies and governments are going to have to continue to put more energy into to try to understand how to manage it.
You know, Jimmy, Mr. Weitzner points out the complexity of the problem and of finding a solution to it. Lurking when Congress is having hearings, they're having hearings generally because they're seeking some sort of legislative approach to solving the problem. Is there a regulatory or legislative element in this, or is it really just incumbent on the companies to do their jobs and for the free market to be freed to do its job?
Well, listen, I think the company would love to be left up to their own devices. I think the companies would like to not probably get out of the moderation business if they could. And you could say, listen, if you don't like the job these companies are doing, go create your own. If conservatives don't like Twitter or Facebook, go create their own conservative platform, much like Fox News or something like that. But I think it's unlikely that government is not going to get involved at some point. Mark Warner has come up with a white paper of some 20 different potential policy approaches. I'm not sure, any of those is exactly the right one or will exactly actually solve some of these problems. And my concern is that you have forces on the left and the right who may not be satisfied with those kinds of technical approaches. You have recently people on the right talking about turning these companies into public utilities. There's a big breakup, big tech movement on the left. And I wonder if sort of the political process may be moving a lot faster than the legislative process, and we could get a bad result here.
Well, I mean, when you're talking about technical fixes on the legislative side, the danger is that this is sort of like whack-a-mole. I mean, as soon as you put some sort of fix in place, these bad guys, bad actors out there will find another way into the platform to exert the influence. And Daniel, on that point, what fascinated me was your point that this is a cyber security issue. This is a national security issue that's happening in the cyber sphere. Are we approaching it entirely in the wrong way at this point, with Congress holding hearings such as the one that we're watching? Jack Dorsey, by the way, is entering the hall, so we might have to interrupt this, Daniel. Should we be looking at this as a security issue?
So, Melissa, I think that it's actually very good news that Congress is paying serious attention to this issue. I think Congress reflects the concern that a lot of people in the American public have about what's happening to these platforms, and do users have a sense of trust? These companies are responding to a whole range of signals. They respond to market signals. They respond to signals from government, whether or not legislation actually happens. They certainly are responding to the fact that there's a lot of attention being focused on them, and I think that's clearly appropriate.